anyone to go upstairs and grab one and show your library love. This was a really big campaign for us. It was paid for by the Friends of the Library. And its intent was to allow community members to show other community members that they love their library and that they support us. This year, the library worked to increase organizational excellence, welcoming spaces, and community engagement. We transitioned to a new regional consortium. We standardized shared practices and systems, and we tried to improve collaboration with partner libraries. For welcoming spaces, we made some technology upgrades in our public and teen spaces. We got new furniture, and we made layout improvements, and we improved signage, visibility, and accessibility in the building. For community engagement, we had a record year for room use. That's our meeting rooms and our study rooms. And we made some new and we renewed community partnerships. If you wanted to see a real visual component of our community engagement, we did a large community art project, which you can see outside in our gallery right there, our big community engagement quilt. For some statistics, we had over 200,000 library visits this year. We had over 300,000 visits to the library website, and over 340,000 physical items borrowed, and I'll break that down in the next slide. We had over 40,000 program attendees over fitness, wellness, and lifelong learning programs. We had programs that supported all ages from toddlers to older adults. And our high room usage reflected our demand for shared spaces in the community. We had positive patron feedback as well. You can't really see it, but I have
Sorry,
a
JD,
beautiful
I
graph.
think they're trying to work on the slideshow.
I have a gorgeous graph that shows our breakdown of checkouts. Our adult books had over 121,000 checkouts, and our children's checkouts was over 115,000. So I know little kid books are a lot smaller, but almost the same amount of adult books as children's books were checked out, which I just know that our community is reading. We had a lot of ebook and e-audiobook checkouts. Obviously not as much, but that is a growing trend. We are trying to get people to check out those e-resources. Our computer use was up as usual. We had almost 17,000 uses on our computers. I don't know if you've seen them upstairs. I think we have almost 10 computers. So those 10 computers get used all day, every day, all throughout the year. They're very important. Our users don't have printers at home usually. I think they usually have computers sometimes, but that printer is so important because that ink is just crazy and you just want to stop in, print out usually a shipping label, and then get on your way and hopefully check out a book. Our Wi-Fi had over 12,000 sessions, so that's just people logging into the Wi-Fi, using it to print something or to do their research or to check out books and so on. I personally sent over almost 85,000 emails of our newsletter. That's a once monthly email that I send out of all of our programs, and we get a lot of usage out of that. And we have our printed newsletters. We print about 500 of those every month, so we're getting our information into the hands of the public. Here are 5 of our biggest projects of the year. Obviously, I mentioned earlier our consortium transition. It improved efficiency, shared training, and better patron experience across the region. Our teen zone improvements, we had major upgrades in furnishings, technology, and signage. Community-led programming. We made a new proposal process for folks in the community to come to us and propose their programs. A lot of our programs are not library employee-led. They're actually led by community members sharing their information. Our Creative Aging program was a 9-week grant-funded printmaking series that was for older adults. It was a wonderful experience. There was over 2 sessions, and all of our attendees are really looking forward to this year's programming. Our intergenerational programs, we had dances, art exchanges. We focused a lot this year on swaps. So we have a baby and toddler swap, which means sorry, we're not swapping children, we're swapping year. Our houseplant swap is a big one. We did a craft supply swap. This is our 2nd year doing it. People have a lot of supplies. They decide they want to start a fun hobby and then figure out that it's just way too much for them, and then they give it to the next person. We haven't received anything back from the previous year, but maybe it's coming up. Our 2 major contributors is our Friends of the Library and our Library Foundation. Our Friends of the Library has 50 volunteers. They run our bookstore and help out with programs sometimes. They logged 2,200 volunteer hours, which that's a lot. Their volunteers are very dedicated, and they invested almost $17,000 in library programs. Library Foundation almost had $50,000 in support. They helped with furnishing, tech upgrades, and have major author and music events. And they brought almost over 500 people to special programs. Going forward, as always, the library will continue to focus on sustainability in facilities and practices, responsible stewardship of funding, innovative programming, and partnership and inclusive services for all ages. All of that being said, the library was voted the best library of North Idaho this year by the Inventor magazine. My contact there said we had thousands of votes, not as many as Spokane because they've got a lot more community members, but this is a testament to our staff's dedication, our partnerships, and our services. Thank you all so much for having me again. We'll continue to connect people to ideas, to each other, and to opportunities. And if anybody needs a library card, we're still open. Thank you.
Thank you, JD. Any questions for JD on this? We do appreciate our library very much. Thank you. Next up, we're going to have our Police Department Annual Report presented by Interim Police Chief Dave Hagar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. It's my honor and privilege to present this year's annual report. First thing I'm going to hit you with is basically this is our scorecard. If you're looking at a sports team, what you're looking at is the overall score. The federal government breaks down Part 1 and Part 2 crimes, with Part 1 being the most serious crimes, the ones that impact people. Aggravated assault, arson, burglary, vehicle burglaries, thefts, things like that. And you're going to see that we reduced these crimes 23.74% last year. We're going to get into some longer time frames in the next slide. But if you look down to the bottom left, you're going to see that since 2014, we dropped Part 1 crime 76.2%. That's a significant amount that you're not going to see in a lot of other agencies. Our Part 2 crimes are kind of the everything else. It's the misdemeanor, the lesser misdemeanor crimes, your assaults, vaping. When it comes to, you're going to see some juvenile problems, and those numbers are up because our SROs are spending a lot of time working on those. And we've reduced those crimes as well. But some of those crimes, it's okay if they go up to a certain extent. DUI means we're actively out there enforcing DUIs, and we're making more arrests. If there's some drugs that are out there, we're making those drug arrests. So it's not bad necessarily if those crimes go up. So we look back and forth between what those are. People have asked, how do we know what these are? The federal government defines these, and we have a standard that we're held to. And if there's ever a question that we say, does this match? Because different states have different laws, so we kind of hold it to the federal. We always default to, if we're not sure, we're going to include it into a number. We're not going to artificially reduce our numbers. We include it. And it may be the elderly woman that's yard gnome was stolen, and she knows it was stolen, and we really don't think it was. We're still going to include that because we're not going to artificially change our numbers. This is that longitudinal that I'm looking at. And so the numbers that we have are raw numbers. They're not based on a ratio. And so on this slide, we have population versus the foreign crimes. You're going to see that this slide only goes back to 2020. So in 2020, there was 1,016 Part 1 crimes. For reference, in 2014, we had 2,107 Part 1 crimes. This year, we had 498. The bottom line from that is that's that many fewer victims. We had roughly 1,600 fewer victims of Part 1 crime this last year than we did 12 years ago. And that means our community members are safer, the visitors that come here are safer, and we're just a great place to live and work. If we look at our arrests by year, our arrests are actually going down a little bit. And that also means that our crime has gone down. We're still out there looking. Just so people understand, this doesn't necessarily mean a physical arrest in custody that somebody gets booked into jail, because I know we hear about jail overcrowding. This could be a citation. Somebody's at one of our big box stores and they commit a shoplift. If they're not a flight risk, they don't have prior history, they have an address locally, it's up to the officer discretion based on all the factors to just give that person a citation, then they have to show up in court. So not every one of these means that this was an actual custodial arrest. So we're not plugging the jail with this, and we try to be as respectful as possible with that. You're going to see that we track both our juvenile and adult arrests. And the same thing goes with juveniles. Not everyone gets booked into juvenile detention center or on Dalton, but we find that there's some folks that they need to get into a diversion program. They need to get into counseling. They need to have that court-ordered prospect to help them change their lives so we don't run into things further on down the road. I think our SROs are a good tool for that because we're talking to these kids out in the schools. They're trying to work things out. And they may have committed crimes that we haven't necessarily charged with because we work with the schools, the parents, to try to get them down the right road until we do that. So arrests aren't our only option. We try to look for other avenues as well as we go through that. Calls for service are huge for us, and you're going to see that this is broken down between officer initiated, which is in the gray category, and citizens that called in. And you look at it and say, well, wait a second, if crime is down, why did we have 39,000 calls for service from the community? Well, the studies show that when people are being engaged with by their police department and being serviced, the community is more likely to call them. When there's crime rampant in a city and people don't think that their police department's responsive, they stop calling. Why would they call? And so this is why we've seen our calls for service in the community go up, is because if they see something, say something. They're willing to give us a heads up and say, we had this information. And I want to dote on the men and women that are standing back here. Part of this is when we reach out for crimes, and we can talk about it now that we've made the arrest, but in the Susan Stratton murder, we made an arrest last week, and this is a case that started back in September, and our officers and detectives worked 24 hours a day for the first couple of weeks, gathering video, gathering information, reaching out to our community, and it was the community that provided us video and other evidence that we could track the suspect to the locations. I can't go into too much detail, but it was the community members that were responsive and called us back when we asked for this help, and it shows the partnership that we have there. And so these calls for service are for our officers going out and making those traffic stops, making the drug arrests, making the other contacts out there to keep our city safe. Code enforcement is an integral part. We have 2.5 code enforcement officers. I think this is a good time to bring out the fact that not everybody in the police department is sworn. We have 121 positions in the police department, 99 of those are sworn. The other professional staff are integral into everything we do, whether it's code enforcement, our records staff, our crime analysts. We're unique. We have 2 crime analysts, and they give us the information we need. And I always like to use the fishing analogy. If we're going to send our officers out to go fishing, they need to know what bait they're using, where they're going to fish at the lake, how deep that they're going to fish, when are the fish biting. And our crime analysts review every field interview, every report, gather that information for us and put it together so our officers can be most effective and we deploy them at the right times in the right places. And so it's not just the sworn staff, it's everybody. And code enforcement, you can see people have asked, well, in 2023, what happened with that? Our volunteer crews have kind of dwindled a little bit, and so prior to 2023, our code enforcement folks were really focused on those code issues and doing that enforcement, making contacts. But they had to take on a little bit more of the parking enforcement. You know, when we have a cold summer with a lot of snow and you have the car bergs that are on the side of the road so the plows can't get through, that ends up being a lot of the workload that they do. And so they've done great jobs on that, which also gives me kind of a plug for our volunteer program. Terry Druby is our volunteer coordinator, and he does amazing work for us. Last year we had 948 hours from our volunteer group, and we'd like to get more volunteers. His number's on here. All of this is on our website. We put out weekly, monthly, and our annual report. So if anybody has an interest in volunteering with the police department, come down to the PD. Terry Drewby's email address is on there. Please reach out. And we'd love to get more volunteers to help our staff. It really helps us get to where we need to be. Some of the updates with the Coeur d'Alene Police Department and what we do with our community engagement. Our 10th annual toy drive. Shane Averett is one of our lieutenants, and this is really his pride and joy. He had a son who was in Sacred Heart for an extended period of time when he was born with some serious medical problems. And through that and through their experiences, he brought this together. The police association, the police officers, we go out and we collect toys throughout the wintertime, and we deliver those to Sacred Heart and to Kootenai Health. Because when these families are in the hospitals at the Christmas time, the last thing they're thinking of is getting gifts for the kids. They're just talking about getting their child well and being able to come home. And this is something that we've done, and we have great community support. Les Schwab has helped us out, and the hospitals are very appreciative of the work that we do. And we bring U-Hauls worth of toys to them that take them throughout the whole year. We are getting a new training facility. I looked at it today, and I'm going to say it's about 60% done. It just depends on the day of the week, how much rain we're going to get, and where we're at with that. That's going to allow us to do more force-on-force training, simulations, defensive tactics, high liability types of things. Every nickel that we put into our training of our officers, much like other public safety in the fire department, saves our lives, reduces liability, reduces risk to the community, and allows us to be professional and do the things that we need to do. And so that's almost done, and that's something that this council supported last year to be able to fund for us. I think the last thing I want to talk about is our community outreach and the crime prevention that we've done. Everything from our National Night Out, which is in August, September, depending on which date they pick for us, our movie in the park, trunk or treat when we go out to do that. We have bike rodeos, the coffee with the cop, our neighborhood watch, various school activities that we have. And I got to tell you, even our downtown team, I look at as community outreach and crime prevention. Last year, we had the best year that we had downtown. In 3 months, we only had 12 Part 1 crimes. 12, that's one a week in our downtown core. If you go back to 2014, we were voted the drunkest city in Idaho. And the social ills that go along with that, the sexual assaults, the fights at the bars, the shootings, the stabbings, the things like that, we don't have those issues anymore. And again, it's because our council's been supportive and the community's supportive. We have our bike team and our bar team downtown that head these things off before they're an issue. And we're starting them up early this year. Sergeant Matt Edwards is going to take on that team. He's already working with our downtown association and our downtown businesses to really make this work. And so I wanted to keep it brief. We could go into, I think there was another 15 slides that I cut out of this because I just didn't want to take all your time. Because again, it's on our website. And I encourage people to come and take a look at it and see the work that we do. Our men and women are out there tirelessly every day making sure we're doing what we're doing. And we break it down for a simple way that we ask for what they do. We ask them to, number one, answer those 911 calls for service. And we're not doing that, do one of two things. Build ties with our community and throw felons in jail. So we appreciate the council's support and stand for any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Interim Chief Coeur? Christy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Chief, that's an excellent report. And I do appreciate that you give credit to the men and women that are behind you. We know how hard they're working every day. We are the, the city we talked about nationally for our crime rates. A lot of people don't really understand what intel-led policing is. I think you kind of touched on it with your fishing analogy. But I think if you just went in a little bit into, just barely,
Sure.
into what kind of data you're looking at and how you're deploying resources, that's what's making the difference.
Really, it's kind of that when we were in school, we talked about answering the who, what, why, where, and how when we write our papers. That's what we're looking for. Who's doing the crimes? What are the crime trends that we see? And I'll be honest, it was easier to see crime trends back when we were having 40 and 50 Part 1 crimes a week. Now we have 5 and 6 because you say, hey, there's 13 vehicle burglaries in this neighborhood. It's easy to spot a trend. It takes us a few more hours now to figure that out with what we have. So we look at when are these things happening. And you go back, and I have some examples, 2020 and COVID, when our schools were out of session. We had 3 different groups of kids, and we can map them where they were in the city, the day they started breaking into cars, the day that we caught them doing that, and you could see this create its own track throughout the city. So our supervisors, our officers are using our Teams channels and other channels to share this information. I just made contact with this person. They had an empty backpack at 2:30 in the morning. Our day shift people are coming on early. The same person has a full backpack 3 miles away from where he lives, and there's maybe some cars that have been broken into. So we do field interview cards, we call them FI cards. And with our body cams, we've made arrests because, hey, we talked to this person with the empty backpack at 2:30, and at 5:30, we talked to him again with the full backpack. The neighbor comes out and says, I have video from my Ring camera or inside my car that says, there was somebody here and they were wearing a sweatsuit with a V on the front of it, and the body cam says that we talked to John Smith with a sweatsuit with a V on it, and we put that together. So we're deploying our people to the right places. Our community action team is kind of a jump out team. They have flexible hours. I don't know if they like having the flexible hours that we push on them, but they're out there to do that. So we're answering those questions. There's also times that we think, okay, the burglary stopped. What did we do? And maybe we arrested that person for a criminal violation other than the burglary. We caught him on a traffic stop with drugs. So then we search jail bookings, jail releases to find out who did we arrest and not realize it, and that could become our suspect for what they do. And to that point, Nampa Police Department sent 13 people up here a few years back to learn what we did. They took it back, and the first year, I don't remember what their stats were, but they reduced crime in their downtown significantly. And we have inquiries from around the Pacific Northwest to see what we're doing so people can take it into play with what they do so they can have the same operations.
Excellent, thank you.
Any other questions? Excellent report. Thank you so much. You got one of the older agendas. There was supposed to be a salsa update, but that has been pulled. And instead, we're moving on to item number 6, which is a legislative update from our city attorney, Randy Adams. Might hear an explanation why we can't fly a banner for Idaho Gives Week.
Well, we actually can, and I'll get into that. You just heard the good news from the police department. Now you get the bad news from the legislature. The mayor has asked me to give you a brief update on the final results from the 2026 legislative session. The legislature convened on January 2nd, adjourned on April 2nd, on the 81st legislative day. In the House, 490 bills, 19 concurrent resolutions, 14 joint memorials, 4 joint resolutions, and 16 resolutions were introduced. In the Senate, 234 bills, 15 concurrent resolutions, 10 joint memorials, 2 joint resolutions, and 13 resolutions were introduced. 221 House bills were sent to the governor for signature. I'm going to go through all of those tonight. 127 Senate bills were sent to the governor for signature. The governor vetoed 6 bills, but 2 of those were for line item vetoes in appropriations bills. A week or 2 ago, we discussed the bills that were related to planning and zoning, so I'm not going to go over those again. Upon the public safety side, the definitely maybe bill, which is definitely not a rom-com. Under this bill, a local law enforcement agency is generously given permission by the state to submit its own investigative findings of human trafficking to the Attorney General. The Attorney General doesn't have to do anything with that investigation, but he could prosecute if he's asked nicely. Note that our local law enforcement agency still has to do the work, has to do the investigation, but the AG's office gets to step in and get the glory. House Bill 533, the I don't have to show you any stinking registration sticker bill. For those of you who are younger than some of us, including the mayor, that's a misquote from the classic 1948 movie, The Treasure of Sierra Madre. In any event, vehicles will no longer have to display a registration sticker. The bill's sponsor estimated this would save the state about $300,000 in costs for printing the stickers. Yet, in a cruel twist of fate, the registration fees don't appear to be going down. House Bill 642, the Catastrophic Benefits Bill, establishes greater benefits for public safety officers severely injured or killed in the line of duty by extending the benefit to dependent children. The lump sum benefit of $500,000 and annual benefit of not less than $75,000 per year remain unchanged. The intent is that the fund for these payments would come from public safety officers themselves. However, in instances involving a catastrophic injury that results in death, the first $100,000 of the benefit will be paid for by the employers of the public safety officer. The cost to be paid by the employers is simply a continuation of how those costs have been previously paid. Sort of in connection with that and referenced by Council Member Gabriel, House Concurrent Resolution 24 passed by both the House and the Senate to honor the memory of Battalion Chiefs Frank Harwood and John Morrison for their heroic actions and ultimate sacrifice in the line of duty. The resolution extends its deepest condolences to their families, colleagues, and communities they served. In addition, the legislature recognized the bravery of engineer David Tisdale and extended its support and gratitude to him and his family and his colleagues and the community he has served. Going to bills affecting our building department, 48 hours. No, not the movie. This bill establishes minimum timeliness and accountability standards for electrical, plumbing, and mechanical inspections conducted by the state or local governments. Specifically, if an inspection is not performed within 48 hours, 48 business hours after requested, the permit holder is authorized to hire a third-party inspector to perform the inspection at the city's expense. This could result in a refund of a portion of the permit fee. House Bill 721, the School of Rock Bill, streamlines the permitting process for school facilities. First, the permitting authority, here at the City Building Department, must complete an initial plan review within 30 days of submission for all public works projects by a school district. Second, a school district no longer needs to obtain plan approval before advertising for bids based on plans that haven't been approved. What could go wrong with that? So miscellaneous bills, the breaking away bill requires operators of electric bikes to follow traffic laws and imposes the same duties on them as on motor. Of course, non-electric bicyclists already had to do that, but there was apparently some confusion over bikes with electric motors. 561, House Bill 561, the Flags of Our Fathers Bill. The mayor mentioned this amends last year's law restricting what flags can be flown by the state, counties, and cities on their property. Their property is defined as land owned and maintained by a governmental entity, including buildings, adjoining land, parks, roads, and boulevards. Also added was the Bonner's Ferry exception, so that Bonner's Ferry could fly the flag of its BF, Canada. And of course, other cities and counties and the state can also fly flags in recognition of historic international and cross-border relations, excluding countries involved in hostile actions with the U.S., which means Iran and much of NATO. There is an exception for flags that have no political, religious, or ideological bent. They can be flown, which I think would the Idaho kids would fall under that. House Bill 594, the It Smells Like Victory Bill. This bill codifies the victory won by Coeur d'Alene and Post Falls against Kootenai County regarding who gets the late fees and interest collected on delinquent property taxes. That was a long battle. The legislature declined to step in while the battle was ongoing, but after the battle was won, they said, yeah, let's have a bill. House Bill 715, the Mummy Dearest Bill. Under the previous law, the Board of Directors of a city library had the power and duty to hire, supervise, evaluate, and terminate the library director. This amendment provides that while the board can still supervise and evaluate a library director, the board can only hire or terminate a director with the approval of a majority of the city council. Now, the city personnel rules state that the library director is a department head and is appointed and may be terminated by the board of trustees without the need for council approval. However, the personnel rules also reference the statute, so we're looking into whether that has to be amended by council. House Bill 752, the you gotta go bill. This bill applies to restrooms in government buildings, not Italian restaurants. It makes it a misdemeanor to knowingly and willfully enter a restroom or changing room in a government-owned building or place of public accommodation that is designated for use by the opposite biological sex of such person. Custodians are exempt as long as they're performing custodial duties, as are public safety employees performing their duties. There are some exceptions. House Bill 795 is the importance of being earnest bill. It's an amendment to last year's Children's and Library Protection Act. Another bill helps librarians. Up until July 1st of this year, the Act will say nothing contained herein is intended to include or prescribe any matter which, when considered as a whole and in the context in which it is used, possesses serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value. This bill made the huge change by eliminating the phrase "and in the context in which it is used." So after July 1, we won't have to consider context. But isn't that what serious literary, artistic, political, and scientific value does? Add context? We're not sure what practical effect this is going to have. House Bill 894, the Conversation Bill, provides that anyone attending an open meeting may record such meetings by audio, video, photographs, by electronic, digital, or other means. The city already allows this. However, the city is allowed to take measures to ensure the orderly conduct of its meetings. And of course, there's no right to record an executive session entered into by council. Senate Bill 1251, the You Shall Not Pass bill, makes it clear that the Attorney General's office has the ability to pursue a declaratory action and seek injunctive relief through the courts to civilly enforce provisions of Idaho code. This power is against anyone who is violated or is violating most Idaho statutes and creates a legal duty that creates a legal duty or prohibition, including government officials and employees. And that is because the Attorney General doesn't have enough to do. House Bill 1283, the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs bill. The bill prohibits a local government from adopting, continuing in effect, or enforcing any ordinance, rule, regulation, resolution, or policy pertaining to the licensing, permitting, inspection, packaging, or labeling of homemade food and non-alcoholic drink products. Sales made direct to the consumers. We cannot have any regulation that is more stringent than any corresponding state or federal requirement. It also expands the state custom meat exemption to any portion, size other than wholes, halves, or quarters. This is a 20-page bill and is a marvel at preemption. So the current city currently requires a permit to operate a mobile food concession and also requires a Panhandle Health District permit. We're still looking into this to decide if we are going to have to change our mobile concessions ordinance to allow a mobile food concession to sell homemade food without a permit or license. Senate Bill 1350 is the Pennies from Heaven bill. With the cessation of the penny production, the bill provides cash rounding guidance for goods and services. when there are no pennies available for change. The guidance is that if the final digit of the amount charged is a 1, 2, 6, or 7, the amount is rounded down to the nearest multiple of a nickel. And if the final digit is of such amount as 3, 4, 8, or 9, the amount is rounded up to the nearest multiple of 5 cents. And this applies to cash refunds as well. The bill also conveniently provides that any amounts charged or withheld due to cash rounding does not constitute a fee. I have yet to test whether McDonald's will accept $5 if my bill is $5.02. And I will have to wait till July to find out. Although this morning I did get ripped off by 3 cents for a purchase. Senate Bill 1376, we call this Renata's bill, or I should say Renata's least favorite bill. This bill changes where local election candidates file. We used to file with the clerk of the political subdivision, Renata. And now you will have to file with the county clerk instead. For some reason, the legislature felt this would simplify the process and help smaller cities that don't have regular operating hours. If you want to know how Renata feels about this bill, just call her and mention elections, and you'll hear all about how bad this bill is. House Bill 789, we've talked about the tribal litigation on water rights. That has finally reached a settlement. The House passed the bill, the governor signed it. It resolves claims made by and on behalf of the tribe in the Coeur Spokane River Basin adjudication. Essentially, it preserves the state's, the city's, and Avista's rights to Lake Coeur d'Alene as they exist now, while providing the tribe with water rights to the southern portion of the lake and its tributaries. Litigation regarding the lake has been going on for at least 25 years and has been addressed by both the Idaho Supreme Court and the United States Supreme Court. The United States Department of the Interior, as trustee for the Coeur d'Alene tribe, had filed some 353 water claims in Idaho State Court seeking judicial recognition of reserved water rights for the tribe. A rocky mediation was held with various parties walking out at various times. At one point, members of the tribe wanted the lake, some members of the tribe wanted the lake to return to its historic pre-dam level. I personally attended a 2-day mediation session in Boise in 2024 that seemed to go on for a week. And since then, a lot of work went on behind the scenes to finalize the settlement. The settlement will have to ultimately be approved by Congress whenever they get around to it. House Bill 959, the Bid Then Make Bricks Without Straw bill, is an attempt to clean up the mess made by House Bill 389 in 2021. While this bill will improve some of the financial conditions for fire and EMS districts, the needs of cities remain unaddressed. In the end, the majority of the issues caused by House Bill 389 remain. As you can't help but recall, House Bill 389 reduced the amount of valuation for new construction and annexation, creating a total cap of 8% in any budget year. It also reduced the amount of foregone revenue a taxing district may take for ongoing budget growth. Finally, it delayed the entry of an improved property's market value on the new construction roll until after the improvements are created. Overall, this bill severely curbed growth in local budgets, which greatly affected the ability to maintain an expected level of service. None of this changed in House Bill 959, but AIC still encouraged the governor to sign it while asking him to continue to work with the legislature for needed relief next year. We're in the hands of the state legislature and God, but at the moment, the state legislature has more to say than God, by former Mayor Ed Koch.
Any questions for Randy? Thank you, Randy. That was great.
Just a quick comment, Mr.
Please.
Thank you. Randy, I gotta say, I like the nicknames a lot. And we will always refer to them the way that you've written them rather than their official title. Well done.
Any other questions? Okay, we're going to move on to item F, which is public comments. There was a shine-up sheet. There was actually two back there. One's for the hearing, which I know a lot of you are here for. I'm just teasing Dennis. But the public comment, so I'm going to read your name, and then you can come up and start with Alice Nielsen. Welcome, Alice.
Good afternoon. My name is Alex. I'm 13 years old and I attend 7th grade at Lakes Middle School here in Coeur, Idaho. Recently in school, I wrote an essay about poaching and how it affects our community. I didn't expect it would lead to me standing here today, but it showed me that even young people can have a voice in important issues, especially when it comes to protecting wildlife. Poaching is the illegal hunting, fishing, or capturing of wildlife. It may seem like a distant problem, but it happens here in Idaho, and it affects animals that are a part of our environment and way of life. Wildlife matters to people in different ways. Some hunt or fish, some enjoy watching animals, others simply value living in a place where wildlife still exists. Because of that, we share responsibility for protecting it. That is why hunting laws and seasons exist. They are designed to keep wildlife populations balanced and healthy. Without them, animal populations would decline and future opportunities could be lost. Recently, there was a case where a cow elk and a young bull elk were illegally killed. At first, it might sound like just 2 animals lost, but it represents much more. If not for this act, the cow elk would have continued raising future generations, and the young bull would have grown into a leader of his own herd. Instead, both were taken without purpose, without any benefit to the herd or the community. That loss matters because it's not just 2 elk, it's an entire lifetime of what there could have been. Wildlife populations are carefully managed over time through conservation, regulations, and respect for natural cycles. When poaching happens, it breaks that balance in a way that cannot be quickly repaired. That young bull could have grown into something significant one day, maybe even a part of a young person's dream like mine. It also could have taught a valuable lesson, to hunt the right way, to follow the rules, and to provide for your family with respect for the animal. Hunting when done correctly is not simply about taking an animal. It is about responsibility, patience, respect, and understanding that wildlife is something we are entrusted with, not something we take for granted. And poaching breaks that balance completely. Poaching also affects people who follow the law. Hunters and fishers spend time learning regulations, buying license, and respecting seasons. When someone ignores those rules, it creates an unfair situation for everyone who does things the right way. Another issue is awareness. Many people don't fully understand what poaching is or how serious it can be. That's why education is so important. Students should learn what poaching is, why laws exist, and how to recognize and report illegal activity. Schools could bring in conservation officers to speak so students can understand real-world impacts, and so it's not just something you read in articles. Because when people understand the consequences, they are more likely to make the right choices. In the end, it's not just about animals, it's about what kind of community we want to be. It's about whether we protect something important or allow it to disappear because we stay silent. Because once something like this is gone, it cannot be replaced. Not by rules, not by regret, not by time, only prevented. Thank you for allowing me to speak today.
Deborah Rose.
It's not fair to make me follow that rule. Good evening. To quote Lee White, Dave Hagar has outstanding character and the competency to do the job extremely well, and he understands the unique challenges of policing in North Idaho, end quote. Anyone who recognizes good leadership will acknowledge how Interim Chief Hagar contributed greatly to bringing the city's crime rate down dramatically. Coeur d'Alene is a unique city. It sees tens of thousands of tourists visiting multiple times a year. While serving second in command, Dave has maintained law and order during these events. Again, while serving second in command, Dave successfully managed so no one was shot or injured during the downtown invasion by a large number of yoo-hoos carrying firearms, acting on a false claim of Antifa showing up in town to cause trouble. Coeur d'Alene has a contingent of people who live all hyped up, afraid of being erased. Some of these people have imposed their hate and childishness on No Kings Rally protesters by rolling coal at them and committing other crimes. Dave helped to make sure these troublemakers were held accountable, some in a court of law. The degree of broadly acknowledged professionalism exhibited by Dave, his knowledge of community character, and the productive relationships he has built within our community warrants recognition and an appointment with the Chief of Police. Dave has a stellar service record. I hope each of you made the effort to talk with him personally, and you have consulted with the Coeur d'Alene Police Officers Association. They are the folks who know best regarding what qualities are needed for a chief of police. It is my understanding Dave has their unwavering support. In conclusion, nobody trashes a person's name more than someone who is afraid that person will tell the truth about them. Petty personal vendettas should be ignored or set aside in this most important duty to choose a chief of police for this city. If you can't put aside someone else's personal vendetta and their potential dishonesty, the question becomes, do you have the courage and the independence for bearing the responsibility before you? Thank you.
Stephen McCaskill.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I'm here this evening to address the controversy regarding the appointment of the police chief. Early in my career, I served several years as a police officer. I'm a retired prison warden, and I've served on city council. Through those experiences, I've developed an appreciation and understanding of the dynamics involved in departmental, governmental, and political functions of government. As a 30-year resident of Coeur d'Alene and a 10-year volunteer with the Neighborhood Watch Program, I've had a good opportunity to observe and evaluate the functioning of our police force. By any measurement, the current police force gets high marks for effectiveness. You just have to look at the significant drop in crime statistics we looked at earlier. That's a remarkable group of statistics. The police department has also experienced little in the way of serious controversies, and it's my understanding the morale within the department remains high. This is in contrast to departments around the country at this point. Members of our community refer to the police as our cops, which in today's world is a rare achievement. It is axiomatic that when department functions in a stable and effective manner and morale is high, vacancies for the chief are best filled from within to maintain continuity and morale. If the department is dysfunctional or morale is low, that's the time to appoint them on site. There's an old adage that says, if it's not broke, don't fix it. I realize the public does not have an official voice in this process, but be aware that if you break it, the public does have a vote. And I thank you very much for your time.
Sarah Ferris.
Mayor Gookin, city council members, fellow citizens, it's a huge honor to be here. If I can, I'm going to deviate from my allotted time to just say that this is one of the most moving sights behind me I have seen in my lifetime. I'm the age of most of your great-grandmothers. And when I was 7, 1959, in Spokane, Washington, a fellow Bluebird was kidnapped and murdered. Her name was Candy Rogers. And it was the police who never gave up. They found her in 16 days, but her perpetrator was not known for 62 years, one of the longest cold cases in American and regional history. It was because of their dedication, and this is a crime that affected Coeur d'Alene too. And with the help of Author Lab, we found out in 2021 who that perp was. And it was the worst crime in my life because she was 9, as I say, I was 7, and she lived just around the corner from my godmother. So I learned what trauma was at a young age. And I thank each and every one of you for what you do, because I got to know the lead detective all these years later when they were planning a playground in her honor. And I know how it personally affects you as well as the community. So thank you for being in a noble profession. I've been retired here for 14 and a half years. I started coming to Coeur d'Alene in early 1950s, and my grandparents have been around since the early 1920s. And so I have a long and abiding love for the city. And this concern I'm going to mention seems minuscule compared to what you're speaking about tonight. Very important, heavy issues. It's just something that grew out of my love and contact with children. I am a retired school teacher, and the minute I got here, I started tutoring and in public and private schools, and that was so rewarding. And I also have rented, like I say, the past 14 and a half years. I got to know people of all ages, which was a pure joy. I did Tai Chi with my fellow seniors. So this really grew out of getting to know them and their needs. And so this isn't just something I'm concerned about at all. And I just want you to be aware of it, because I wasn't aware that we don't have affordable access to public transportation to get into Spokane. And that might sound trivial, well, just get in the car. Well, many of us, like in my age group, for example, drive locally, but we don't drive on the freeway anymore. Not every household has more than one car, and yet they have more than one person who has to commute. And with the rising gas prices, which are staggering, I have known people, including a neighbor 5 years ago, who I saw packing up her moving boxes, and I thought, well, she does a great job with the federal government in Spokane. And I asked her, I said, Shannon, why are you moving? And she said, well, Sarah, I can't afford 300, it was 300 to 500 in that range, a month paying for gas. And so I can only imagine what it would be today. And I realized that the idea of getting a shuttle bus sounds kind of really overwhelming. How would we pay for it? Because STA, for example, in Spokane is paid by Washington State tax. But I think not just are your job reasons, because a lot of our working folks here have to commute, because that's where the jobs are and the highest minimum wage in the nation. But also a lot of other folks, different ages, want to get in there to access entertainment, educational opportunities, Spokane Children's Theater, to Children's Hospital, Shriners, specialists in diagnosing learning disorders. I mean, there's just a laundry list of things that they have. Now, we have the better end of the stick here because we live here. And as a Spokane baby and child, I can tell you this is the place to live. And I know I'm biased, but who wouldn't want to live here? But that doesn't mean we shouldn't be thinking of what our young people, our working people, our seniors would like to be exposed to and like to take advantage of. And I did find out in little research that Spokane STA runs a shuttle to Liberty Lake. And they do it every morning at 5 a.m. on the hour, all day, it sounds like, and Sunday. And I thought, wow, if we could just get a shuttle to Liberty Lake, that would alleviate a lot of issues. But I won't take up your time with dreaming on how we can do that, because it does involve intense looking at budgets and and security issues too. And I think our police force could advise us. The last thing I want to do is contribute to any harm to anyone here, and I'm very protected by nature. Excuse me. So I want to make sure that we're not bringing in an element on the bus. But, you know, I trust the wisdom of all of you, and our police force in Spokane could advise us too. I don't think that would be a problem, because if we have the shuttle run by STA and our little shuttle, I don't think we would directly be bringing people in. So anyway, thank you very much, and thank you for all you do.
Thanks, Sarah. Henry Loman?
And I just ask that when people come up here, make sure you pull that microphone so you're speaking right at it. Many thanks. Yeah.
Right. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present a proposal regarding much-needed repairs to Tubbs Hill Road. Tubbs Hill Road, you may not be aware, is a vital roadway for city maintenance, for area residents, visitors, emergency services, accessing and enjoying Tubbs Hill. It's very much an out of sight, out of mind roadway. If you don't know it's there, you don't know it's there. But based on the numbers that are enjoying Tubbs Hill, it's becoming much, much more used. Its current condition poses safety risks to drivers, pedestrians, and long-term sustainability. Tubbs Hill Drive has experienced significant wear and tear over the past few years. As I've said, particularly given the significant increase in traffic to Tubbs Hill, the 2025 Friends of Tubbs Hill report indicates more than 160,000 visits in 2025 from the East Trailhead, and previous year's trackings have indicated well over 200,000 annual visits from the 3rd Street entrance. Ongoing issues include surface deterioration, some of which is directly impacted from the snow plows during snow removal, potholes, surface cracking, erosion on the surface and near the edges, and lack of proper drainage. These problems not only make driving hazardous, but also contribute to further deterioration of the road and adjacent infrastructure. Damaged road surfaces increase the risk of accidents for drivers, cyclists, and pedestrians. Tubbs Hill Drive requires speed limit restrictions and proper trail crossing signage, which currently do not exist. Poor road conditions hinder safe access for residents, visitors, and emergency vehicles. On an environmental aspect, we have erosion, inadequate drainage, which is negatively affecting Tubbs Hill's natural surroundings, including Lake Coeur d'Alene. Chemicals are used in the spring and winter on the road surface, and our hope is that they've been approved for what is currently has been running into the lake, because it is a direct rock. Tubbs Hill is a popular destination. Road quality affects visitors' overall experience and safety, and we know that Coeur d'Alene is a destination for many, many, many visitors and tourists. So we propose. We're not the experts. We don't know what can be done, needs to be done, but we do know there needs to be something done. So whether it's conducting a thorough evaluation of Tubbs Hill Drive to determine the extent of repairs needed, while concurrently addressing immediate repair and maintenance issues. The surface needs to have a viable added surface. Anyway, appreciate your help. Any questions?
You can finish. You can wrap it up.
Okay. Also, the drainage improvements, providing a drainage system to prevent future erosion and water damage to the road. Edge stabilization, reinforcing road edges where erosion is evident to maintain structural integrity. The signage I mentioned, speed limit, trail crossing, and pedestrian awareness. The City of Coeur d'Alene Parks and Recreation Department, along with the Friends of Tubbs Hill, have made many, many improvements to the health and sustainability of Tubbs Hill in recent years. Repairing Tubbs Hill Drive is essential for the safety, accessibility, and vibrancy of our community. ignoring, postponing, or continuing to put bandages on the deteriorating roadway will only have a negative present and future impact. We urge the council to prioritize this project and support the necessary steps to restore this important roadway. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Pam. I did want to mention a couple of things. Spoke to our streets director today, and he said they're going to work on a traffic count for you to find out how much traffic there is. The trail crossing, I discussed that with our trail coordinator, who's now our arborist, so I don't know where that is. But he did mention that it would be really expensive to put the surface on that road because there's some engineering involved. But you are on the radar. Want to let you know.
Yeah, it's just the erosion actually is, that road is disappearing.
I understand, but we're looking into it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Seberg.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'd just like to follow up a little bit with that presentation, just a few additional comments. One observation is that from the top of Tubbs Hill Drive, where the trail crossing is, down to the end of the cul-de-sac, the end of the road there where the official trail starts, that is kind of a de facto trail. We've observed over the last few years the dramatic increase of Tubbs Hill Drive in its use, but particularly trail users from that area just down to the end. And of course, the trail cam information doesn't even address that because there are no trail cam monitors, trail counter monitors in that area. I had talked to the assistant director, roads director this morning. He mentioned about doing a traffic count study, maybe even this week. I guess I would like to recommend a traffic study during one of the summer months, as that will give a truest indicator of the volume of traffic and the generally more excessive speeds that we experience during the summertime. Kids being out of school, everybody having a good time, I get that. But this time of year, it's almost non-existent. But during those 3 months is a huge wear and tear on the road and a safety factor. And I've also noticed at that trail crossing, a lot of the locals are aware that they're about to come out onto a road. But the folks that are visiting us, they don't realize that. Half of them just pop out onto the road, and when people are doing excessive speed there, it can be very dangerous. Fortunately, nobody's been hurt, and of course we'd like to keep it that way. The current unmarked speed limit of 25 miles per hour, since it's not posted, is kind of automatic 25. Is just too fast for Tubbs Hill Drive. The road is mostly gravel with a moderate incline, a dead end, a blind corner, and a popular trail crossing. And again, I would just like to suggest it be posted, if whatever it takes to have that done, maybe at 15. Now that's not going to address the kids and stuff that want to just go fast. I get that, but I think it will generally have a pause for most folks to think, oh, hey, we got this is a slower area, it's a park road, so to speak, let's slow it down. And in addition to that, we would love to see a trail crossing ahead or something like that, signage for vehicular awareness. You know, the roads department said, well, there are signs up there, but the signs that are there are only telling the trail crossers that this is the trail. But when you drive up there, if you're local, you probably are aware of it, but if you're not a local, you're not aware that there's a trail crossing there. There's no signage whatsoever. And there's, of course, it's dirt, so there's no way to have like a crosswalk or something like that you would see in our paved streets. So it just seems like having something there, it wouldn't take much to bring some awareness to the folks driving their vehicles in that area. So that's just what I wanted to tag on to that presentation. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris. Next up is Don Kraft. Sorry, Ryan.
We're going to start. Mayor Gookin, City Council members, good evening. My name is Don Kraft, and I'm the president of the Coeur d'Alene Police Association. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of the 100 members of our association. Many of those members are here tonight. Some are not able to make it because of a variety of reasons, and some just are out on the street handling police calls right now. My purpose tonight is to remind you of our association's endorsed candidate, Dave Hagar. On March 12th, after hearing from the final 4 candidates in an interview process at the police department, our association membership held a vote on which candidate to endorse. Dave Hagar won that vote. We had about an 85% voter turnout, and that's one of the highest voter turnouts ever. Out of 100 members, 79 members cast a vote. Those results were overwhelmingly in support for Dave Hagar. Greg Yeager came in second place, and the voting results were 58 for Dave Hagar and 12 for Greg Yeager. Our Coeur d'Alene Police Association wants Dave Hagar for police chief. In the last month, a comment was made about low morale amongst the officers. To simply clarify, our membership simply feel their voices are not being heard or strongly considered. And so yes, that does impact morale there. Otherwise, morale is really good within our police department, and the men and women of our police department go out and work very hard every single day and enjoy the work that they do. But the membership is invested in Dave Hagar and frustrated with the process that has appeared that others know better than the men and women of the police department who work with Dave Hagar every single day. We are, however, very thankful for the opportunity to be a part of this election process. Our association e-board members have been welcomed and included throughout the vetting process. We are very appreciative of that, especially in light of the fact that we will work day in and day out with the chosen police chief. Our members want to continue the great work that they have done over the last 10 years, resulting in a 75% reduction in crime in Coeur d'Alene. Our membership wants to do that great work under Police Chief Dave Hagar. The Police Association has valued the working relationship with City Council for many years. Many of our members are on a first-name basis with a lot of you. We've always valued and appreciated your support. Tonight, we are asking you to recognize and agree with our Police Association that Dave Hagar should be our police chief. Thank you.
Daniel Haley.
Gotta get up here before it starts. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. So I'm here addressing you in 3 different capacities. First of all, as a citizen in Coeur d'Alene. Second of all, as a former Coeur d'Alene police officer and the previous president, following what, I can't really follow what Don Kraft said about what everybody's done here. And the last is as a current police chief in the city of Rathdrum. Dave Hagar is one of the reasons I am in the spot that I am currently. I wouldn't have been in Coeur d'Alene without Dave Hagar. I spoke with him while I was still a captain in Colorado. He took the time out to speak with me during that, and it enticed me to come to Coeur d'Alene PD because of people like Dave Hagar. Dave Hagar helped lead this department to where it's at. He took the direction that Chief White set, and he brought it down to the members. That's something that has to occur in police organizations, as I'm clearly learning in my new role, right? I have to set a tone, and then the tone has to be taken down by all the leaders in the organization, and that's what Dave Hagar did. And that's what he continues to do, and that's why you see the numbers that you do. And he leads by example, he leads by being personable, he leads by knowing something about every one of these people back here. And that is why they're here, to get officers to come on a night where they would rather be home. This speaks volumes more than anything else I could ever say. The person I call when I'm not sure what to do in my position right now is Dave Hagar. When I had my first critical incident, first person I called when I got on scene and got it handled was Dave Hager and said, what am I missing? And who came out that night? Dave Hager. I met with Deputy Chief Yeager as well. Yes, he's a qualified person, but he is not Dave Hager. He is not what this department needs. They do not need a rebrand. The Coeur d'Alene Police Department needs a refresh, and that is Dave Hager. And so I just leave you with that. Thank you.
Mike Ridley.
Good evening. My name is Mike Grizzly. I'm a resident of Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. At the risk of false personal attacks by Councilmember Wood and others, I'm here to express my opposition to the appointment of Dave Hagar to the position of Chief of Police. I believe that honesty, integrity, and fair treatment of employees are critical requirements of all department heads, especially the Chief of Police. As you know, there is a lawsuit pending in federal court where it is alleged that Captain Hagar and Police Chief White expressed disappointment in another police captain for that captain having told the truth about the audio recordings at meetings in an investigation. It is also alleged in that lawsuit that Police Chief White harassed and retaliated against the other captain because the other captain refused to answer questions untruthfully in the investigation. Following the conclusion, and I read from the opinion, following the conclusion of the investigation, Chief White and Captain Hagar received letters of expectation addressing issues including the need to be a team player, accept decisions from the administration, stop audio recordings of employees without consent, and work cooperatively with city departments. I believe that the allegations and statements in the federal court lawsuit should be kept in mind when considering the responsibilities and conduct of the Chief of Police, and especially while evaluating Captain Hagar's qualifications for appointment to the position of Chief of Police. Thank you.
Mike? Is there anyone else who would like to make public comment? Yes.
There's one.
I'm sorry. Oh. It's because you're from Rathdrum.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Lee White. I used to work here. I stand before you tonight to encourage you to select Dave Hager as the next police chief for the city of Coeur d'Alene. It's apparent from the support of the police department and its members, many of whom are here tonight, and from the letters to the editor, the editorials in the Coeur d'Alene Press, and the numerous comments on social media that I do not stand alone. But what I would offer tonight is a different perspective. A perspective from someone who has spent decades looking behind the curtain, so to speak, about police leadership and the effect choosing the right leader can have on the community and the men and women who wear the uniform. Our agency is well known for its unbiased, apolitical approach to public safety. The agency is known for its historic, amazing low crime rates, as well as its public outreach. It's known for exceptionally handling incidents that get nationwide attention. It's full of officers who love working for our city. You'd ask, how do we accomplish all this? It was the men and women in uniform who did really the heavy lifting. And it was Dave Hager who had the integrity, leadership, and competency to champion these programs and incidents and see the vision come to a reality. I've known Dave Hager professionally for decades, and throughout my career I've known dozens and dozens of other people in police leadership positions. And what I can tell you is this: of all those people, there is no one who would be better at running the Coeur d'Alene Police Department than Dave Hager. Not only is he an accomplished police leader who is well skilled at managing police events and personnel, he's exceptionally smart. He has a bachelor's degree from Arizona State in Human Resources and a master's in Public Administration, and he is by far one of the most well-rounded police administrators that I've ever met. The only negative thing that I can say about Dave is that he is honest to a fault. When we were both much younger, I learned that Dave is the type of person who would tell you about a decision he made, a comment, or an operation that did not go as it should have, simply because of his integrity and his commitment to being factual in everything that he does. In fact, there's nothing that hurts Dave more than a challenge to his integrity. Even when there's recordings and sworn statements to prove or confirm that what another person is saying is false, it is still the challenge to his integrity that pisses him off the most. There are many professions where character and integrity are simply words. In our field, it is central to everything we do, and Dave likely has the strongest integrity of any police officer I've ever met. You may have heard comments just a few minutes ago from someone who has an axe to grind against Dave and me, frankly, and members of the police department because we refused to look the other way when he asked us to for his violations of city code, and he's had an axe to grind since then. I would ask you to ignore those comments and consider why they are made. Public safety is one of the core reasons the city exists, and selection of its police chief should not be taken lightly. Many city leaders who've been through this process would tell you that if everything is going exceptionally well in the police department, then you'd be stupid to make a change and bring someone in from outside to change all that. And frankly, it's extremely rare for a large portion of the department to attend a council meeting to encourage its elected officials to listen to them. Usually, someone is brought in from the outside only to be an agent of change, or if its leaders feel that the police department is somehow in need of a dramatic shift. But what you are faced with is a police department that is functioning at the highest level, with a staff of sworn and civilian that know and trust Dave's leadership, and a department that has the trust and support of the community. Even if you don't want to listen to me, please listen to your police officers. Listen to the community, and make Dave Hager your next police chief. Thank you.
Is there anyone else I missed? Rathdrum, Post Falls? Okay, great. We'll move on to, I'm sorry.
Gentleman in the back.
Oh, please, come forward, I'm sorry. And just state your name for the record.
My name's Stu Miller. I'm a resident here of Coeur d'Alene. I have lived and worked in this community for a really long time. I know several of these people in here. I know several of you. I've worked in law enforcement in Kootenai County for the last 32 years. And I can tell you that unequivocally, Dave, when he came to the city of Coeur d'Alene, has done more for the city than years of leadership that I've seen. And I've seen good leaders and I've seen bad leaders. And Dave and Lee, when they came, the change that was affected from them is phenomenal. And I worked, retired from the Kootenai County Sheriff's Office. I still, now I'm semi-retired, but I will echo Chief Haley's comments. If I have a question, I call Dave. That's it. It's easy because he is one of the smartest people I know. And he has my total support as a friend and a colleague. So I hope that you guys see all the stuff that he has done and will continue to do as the chief. Thank you.
Yes, Stu. Anyone else? Okay, we're going to move on to item G, which is announcements from the city council. Any city council person have an announcement going? Kiki?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On a happy note, I just want to invite everyone to celebrate with the city of Coeur d'Alene. This is the 42nd consecutive year that they received the award for the National Arbor Day Foundation as a Tree City USA. So Friday, down at City Park from 10 to 2, there's going to be sapling giveaways and food and other things. And Saturday, also from noon to 2, there'll be the same thing with more. I don't know what more means, but it says more on here at the North Idaho College Library parking lot. So in order to celebrate that, get your free tree, get some planting going, and join us in celebration.
Thank you. Did you want to say anything about the compost?
Well, no, I'll wait till next year.
Okay, all right. Well, remember, I'll remind you. Yes, Christy.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to update council that Park and Rec met last night. We had a number of agenda items that will come to council. There's not going to be a general services because we're doing a budget workshop at the end of the month. And so some of those items are going to come directly to us on May 5th. There's one item that we did table. It just needed a little more added to the staff report. There will be some reach out to police and fire for input from them. Then it'll come back, and I'll just give you a referenced some usage of our parks. And it'll come back to Park and Rec for review, and then it'll probably go to a general services and then eventually make it to all of you. But I want to give a shout out to our interim Parks Director, Adam Rouse. He's doing a great job. The committee really appreciates his leadership, and I look forward to many more meetings with him.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes, Dan English.
Yeah, just to say that, well, and I'm the liaison to the library, and we've had some very good meetings. And, you know, as you can imagine, we get a lot of different messages and stuff. And today I got one that meant a lot to me. It said to me that just want you to know that I'm going to be you know, tuning in tonight to the meeting, and, you know, hope that it'll all go well. You treated each other right. And he said that he, so, yeah.
You good, Dan?
Praise for the city and its people every day.
Thank you, Dan. Anyone else? Okay, I have a couple of things to say. So there have been questions regarding the appointments coming up, and I was just going to remind everyone about the process we went through, and that the responsibility for making the appointment was agreed upon to be Ron Jacobson's, and that's what came forward, and that vote failed. And after that vote failed, Ron and I sat around, like, what do we do? And so we kind of said, well, let's kick it down the road and have the next guy deal with it, and we were good with that. Then there was requests from council members to revisit the items. So discussing with our legal department, I was like, well, how do you put these items on the agenda? And since Ron made the appointment of Greg Yeager, the language is that Ron is making that appointment. I was also requested to put Dave Hagar on the agenda, and I am making that appointment through Idaho statute. The hang-up for this, and just to let you know before we get into it, is that I will not be voting. I believe the statutes say that I cannot break a tie on this type of appointment. So I would also like to see consensus on council, so I don't want to see a split council again. Anyway, there's that. The other item, which is...
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I have a question for
Amy
Mr.
has a
Mayor.
question.
When you say vote failed, when it's a 3-3 tie, is that a failed vote, or it just dies? Maybe.
Nomenclature.
Right, I think it is.
A 3-3 vote is essentially a defeat of the motion. A tie is
Okay.
that the motion does not pass.
Thank you.
Yeah, so it just, and you can say it either way, it doesn't, to me,
Thank you.
it's one way or the other. I would also like to, Mike, if you could put the picture up on the screen. I know we've had some technical difficulties. I blame Windows 11. But anyway, I will read this. I don't know. Oh, there it is. Very good. Please join us in extending our heartfelt condolences to the family of Kenneth Earl Timmons. Ken served with the Coeur d'Alene Police Department beginning in June 1971, dedicated 3 decades of service, and retiring as a respected police captain in June 2002. He was widely known for his strong commitment to the community and for always being willing to lend a helping hand to offer support at any hour. We honor his many years of dedicated service and extend our deepest sympathies to his family and loved ones during this difficult time. I also have an appointment to make, which I cannot break the tie again. This will be appointment of Bruce Martinek to the Urban Forestry Committee.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Moving on to item H, our consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the consent calendar? Roll call, please.
Evans?
Yes.
Scheckler?
Yes.
Miller?
Aye.
Gabriel?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Very good. The motion passes. Moving on to item I, other business. We're going to start with resolution number 26032, which is approval of a letter of agreement with Keenan Johnson and Paddle Pub CDA LLC for commercial use of the city streets for recreational transit. This is an item that has come to council before, and Kelly Setters will be delivering our staff report. Kelly.
Hello, good evening. So I'm here to go over a trolley pub proposal from Keenan Johnson. And you are familiar with this, you approved it last year. For operation of the trolley on city streets to have alcohol. So we have to have an agreement approved by council. So there's two tours. There's a family-friendly tour and a 21 and over pub tour. So this would run from seasonally from May to October, and the tours are Monday through Sunday, and they're 2 hours long. And all tours begin at Jeremiah Johnson Brewery. The scenic tours run daily from 8 to 3 p.m., and they also stop at the carousel, and they go to Fort Sherman for a brief moment. This is the map of that family tour. And the alcohol establishment tour. There are 4 pubs that they have chosen to take guests to, and everybody on the trolley has to be 21 years and over. And the guests can bring their own sealed beer and only drink it on the trolley. And they cannot take it with them when they stop to visit these pubs. And here's the tours. They're gonna have 4 tours a day for that. And here, the map kind of changed a little bit this year. They added the backwood bar, so they're gonna go all the way down East Sherman and back. So that's an addition from last year. So with that, I ask council to approve a letter of agreement with Keenan Johnson for commercial use of city streets for recreational transit. And I stand for any questions you may have.
Kelly, I do have a question. If you could back up 2 slides to the map that shows the
This one?
inebriated journey. So they're going down, is going down 5th Street, is that the new thing?
No, that's the same.
So they did it last year.
They have to go down 5th because of 4th is the one-way going north.
Right.
So they have to go down 5th and around.
But we didn't get any complaints or anything, because that's residential.
Yes.
We did get-
had one complaint from someone on Montana Avenue, and that was resolved quickly by Keenan Johnson, and we never heard of another one.
Okay, so if we've done this before and there were no complaints, then we're good.
Yes.
Any
And the
quest-
fire and streets were police and streets were notified for comments. I asked them for comments.
Very good. Council, Kiki.
Just a couple things. This is I actually went on this one, and I was really pleased with how respectful they were of the neighbors regarding music, regarding trash, regarding food, all of that. And so that was just an interesting and fun experience. We had another one of these that we approved a number of years back.
The social
Is
club?
it still operating too?
No.
Okay, so there's just one in
Just
town
the
then?
one. Mhm.
Okay, thanks.
And a question for you. So you went on this thing. Did you pedal and all that? And
Oh, I paddled like crazy, but mostly because we were talking and eating more than drinking, because all of these places will provide food. So we were just taking food and eating, so I figured we had to pedal a lot more to even out by the end of the trip.
that's great. Any other questions on this topic for Kelly? Very good. Thank you, Kelly. We'll be looking for council action.
Well, I would make a motion to approve resolution number 26-032, authorizing a letter of agreement with Keenan Johnson and Paddle Pub CDA LLC for commercial use of the city streets for recreational transit.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? None from out there either. We'll do a roll call.
Scheckler,
Yes.
Miller,
Aye.
Gabriel,
Yes.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans.
Yes.
And the motion carries. Now we move on to item I2, which is the mayor's request of approval of an appointment of Dave Hagar to the position of police chief. And before we get rolling on this, something I would like to read. There has been talk, and I don't know if there's any validity to this, but there has been discussion either on social media or around that the reason this has become contentious is because Dave Hagar lied. And I just want to caution council before we proceed. No allegation that Hagar lied should be repeated or relied upon as a fact unless and until it has been properly investigated and substantiated. If the allegation is to be considered at all, it should be referred to an appropriate internal process. Hagar should be given notice of this concern and an opportunity to respond. He is entitled to due process. If the city council decides not to appoint Dave Hagar, it should be articulate, lawful, evidence-based, non-defamatory reasons for this decision without resorting to rumor. Council discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Christie.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the appointment of Dave Hager to the position of police chief.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second for the approval of the appointment of Dave Hagar to the position of police chief. Discussion. Yes.
And Dan, I would like to refer to council on just the process of your appointment and the legality of you mentioned it earlier, but I'd like to hear from Randy. This is a deviation from the process that was established when we started these interviews for police chief. So I'd like our legal opinion on how to move forward with your appointment.
I can answer that. Idaho statute provides the mayor to appoint officers for the city. The statute specifically mentions the city treasurer and the city clerk. These were actually once elected positions for cities in Idaho. The statute also goes on to say that the mayor has the authority to appoint officers as necessary for the efficient operation of the city. This is used in cities that do not have city administrators to make those appointments, as no other official has the authority to make those appointments outside of a mayor, especially in a small city that doesn't have a city administrator. In our city, we do not have any city code that says that that authority has been removed. We have a city code that establishes the position of a city administrator. The city administrator's job description, which is passed by resolution of council, takes that power and gives it to the city administrator. And under other circumstances, if you guys didn't vote that away, you would be approving the appointment of department heads. But when you approved the job description for the city administrator, you gave up that authority. So that's the way I read the code. The code also says, I read the Idaho Association of Idaho Cities manual on appointments, and that's pretty much what it said. And it also mentioned that I cannot break a tie. So that's why I'm saying that I can't break a tie. Now, I did email Randy about this, and I asked him, and he provided examples of how I cannot do it, but no examples of how I can do it as my memory recalls. But Randy, I'll let you go ahead and address the question.
Let's see, we made a motion and a second. Should we vote on that and then have this?
Well, actually,
or no?
quite honestly, the way I view it is we shouldn't have put it on the agenda if it was illegal.
Oh, okay.
But I will have
Okay.
Randy make his comments.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's not just in the job description of city administrator. Rule 26 of the city's personnel rules, which were adopted by council many years ago, provides that department heads are appointed by the city administrator. Council does not vote on the appointment of department heads. Under the personnel rules, it is very clear that the police chief is a department head. You did ask me last week about Idaho Code Section 50-204 and whether that supported your appointment of a police chief by you or any other mayor. I did review the statutes. I provided you with a detailed analysis, and my conclusion was that Section 50-204 does not give the mayor the power to appoint the police chief or a department head. It does not give council the right to confirm a mayoral appointment of a department head. I later provided you, the next day I provided you with a case from the Idaho Supreme Court, Bunt versus Garden City, which is dispositive of the issue and has not been overruled or changed. It discusses that exact point. In Bunt, the Supreme Court said, and I quote, "The historical progression of the relevant statutory sections shows that the legislature's intention to limit the officers required by statute to be appointed by the mayor with the consent of city council. Police officers were once included in the category, but were not expressly enumerated in the present version of Idaho Code Section 50-204. And the apparent legislative intent was to delete police officers, including the police chief, from the requirement of mayoral appointment with city council approval, applicable to other officers. Garden City had made the office of police chief an appointed officer. And so, therefore, the Supreme Court held that 50-204 applied to Garden City. You also brought up Meridian as a place where the mayor appoints department heads. And I went to the Meridian City Code, and the City Code of Meridian provides that the mayor appoints the department heads in Meridian. Again, Coeur d'Alene has designated the police chief as a department head, not an appointed officer, and has given the power to appoint department heads solely to the city administrator. The only appointed officers in Coeur d'Alene are the city clerk, the city treasurer, the city attorney, and the city administrator. I also reached out to the Idaho Municipal Attorneys Association, and the attorneys for every city that responded indicated that and agreed that the mayor could not appoint a department head unless the city had designated them as an appointed official pursuant to 50-204. The mayor cannot assume that power under 50-204. Therefore, it is the opinion of the legal department of the city of Coeur d'Alene that a police chief cannot be appointed by the mayor, and such an appointment would be a violation of the city's own adopted policy. And also that the method of appointing a department head is not supported by state law, particularly Idaho Code Section 50-204.
And so, here you have the crux of the matter. Here is what goes on in the city of Coeur d'Alene. You have an unelected city attorney who butts heads with the mayor. And that's this whole story with the police department and city attorneys. See, he didn't give me advice. He vetoed me. And he doesn't have that authority in statute. I have the authority by statute to make an appointment. He's using a resolution, a personnel rule, to tell me that I lack authority. He's not backing me up. And in fact, I have hired private counsel because I've lost his faith. I have no faith in the city attorney, not to advise me as the mayor. I believe he tilts the table. This is 10 years of documentation of city attorneys attacking our police chief. That's what happens in this city. And that's what this vote is really all about. It is about a power play in City Hall by unelected officials who want to overturn your choice. I am the mayor, and I have authority to make this appointment. And it is my opinion that the city attorney and others have poisoned this council and biased them against me and against the police chief. And I know this is pretty heavy duty, but I am tired of this shit. I'm tired of having a city attorney who doesn't tell me what the law is, who tells me his opinion that's biased, that he tilts the table, which is
Mr.
why
Mayor,
I
I
hired my
told
own
you what
attorney.
the law says. I was
have-
giving you
please
my
don't interrupt
opinion.
me. Do not interrupt me. Do not interrupt me.
Do not accuse me of doing something unethical.
Why are you pissing on me? Why do you do this?
I am not pissing on you. I am giving you what
You're
the
not
Idaho
telling them
Supreme
the whole
Court
truth.
says.
You are not telling them. When I asked you last Thursday, when this agenda was approved, I said, do you have an issue with this item? And you said you did not. That's in the minutes. Why didn't you bring it up then?
I had given you my opinion. I did not want to embarrass you in front of other people.
So you're going to embarrass me in a council meeting?
You decided to continue with the motion despite legal
This
counsel's
is the
decision.
shit. You guys see the shit that's going on right now? You see the pushback from the city attorney? You wonder who's been poisoned up here, who's been told not to talk to the police association, not to talk to the interim chief, who's been told to ignore things? This is what's going on in this city, and I'm trying to fix it, but I'm getting pushback. I have a legal right to make this appointment, and if you don't like it, you can sue me.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
What?
I respectfully ask that we return to some decorum and respect for one another. We're here to do business tonight. We have an audience full of community members and teammates, and I respectfully ask that we try to control ourselves and conduct business that's best for our citizens.
Good luck. I am going to poll the council right now. I would like to know, individual council members, starting with Kenny Gabriel, have you been contacted by Chief Hagar or the Police Association, and did you return their contact?
I have not been contacted by Dave. I have been contacted by the Police Association. I have not spoke back to them. Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure I owe you an explanation. I owe them an explanation, which means a ton to me, and what you're trying to do is demean my love for this police department in this city, and I find that incredibly disrespectful. I have not spoke to them, Mr. Mayor, because the last thing I want to do is make this almost impossible situation worse. That's why.
You weren't told by anyone not to speak to them?
I was not. I was told that there was given all options, and what would this look like if I did not? And I made a decision out of respect to them and respect to the process, and the last thing I want to do is drag Dave Hagar through the mud. The last thing I want to do.
Ms. Miller, have you been contacted by Dave Hagar or the Police Association?
Yes.
And
Is this part of the process of the mayor? This is a very unusual situation. I have no problem with it, but it's very unusual that this is like a cross-examination or some sort of trial here. And I felt like you earlier said, we're not going to be defaming people. We're not going to be listening to all of this other background noise. I have not.
okay, Ms. Evans, have you been contacted by the Police Department Association or
Yes,
Dave
and
Hagar?
I have been contacted by both. I met with Don Kraft. I know he's out there somewhere. Approximately 2 weeks ago, we sat down and had coffee for about an hour. And I was contacted by Dave Hagar last evening. I was in a meeting at the Chamber of Commerce, and I texted him back that I'd get back to him. And unfortunately, I went right into another dinner commitment and then worked all day. So, but I did respond to him via text.
Thank you. Christy Wood, have you been in touch with the Police Association or the Chief Hagar?
Yes, I have. They've reached out to me to speak about the leadership role they would like to see filled. I've also, throughout my history as an elected official, and certainly here on council, anytime an association member or the body, or a fire union member or the body, or Lake City Association contacts me as an elected official, I return their call and I meet with them.
And Mr. Sheckler, have you been contacted by the Police Association or Mr. Hagar?
Mr. Mayor, yes, I had the pleasure of meeting with the Police Association representatives, Don Kraft and Johan, who we probably met for an hour or two over coffee or lunch and discussed this very deeply. It was a very informative discussion, and I appreciate their service very much. I also have not been contacted by Captain Hagar, but I have also not been contacted by Mr. Yeager either. I have not been contacted by any of the applicants. And I have not reached out to them either about this.
All right, thank you. And Dan,
Yeah,
same question.
Yeah, well, of course, we got, that memo from Police Association, and I probably, I might have talked individually, and I have talked with Captain Hager. In fact, I stopped by there today to see him and just offer my encouragement. I mean, it's no secret that, support him, and so, yep.
Thank you.
That's my concern.
Mr. Sheckler.
Mr. Mayor, you indicated some disagreement with legal counsel's opinion. I'm quite aware that opinions are multitudinous, and many people have different opinions even in the legal profession. Do you accept or reject that opinion, and if you reject it, would you like to have an independent legal opinion?
I got that, and the independent legal opinion I obtained told me that I have full authority to make appointments, that city personnel rules and city resolutions do not supersede statutes. Now, there is an interesting point in that city code can, but we have nothing in city code that supersedes it.
On that question, is that an independent opinion? Sometimes, as an attorney, I think they make a decision of who's their client. Is it an independent one where they are independently analyzing the law objectively, or are they providing that an opinion as an advocate for a client?
That's a good question, and I like the way you put that. My question was put out flatly. In other words, does this statute give a mayor an authority to make an appointment, or does it not? And that is backed up by the Association of Idaho Cities description in their mayor manual of what the mayor's authorities are.
Are you willing to share that opinion with the public or with council?
Currently, I asked my counsel today, and I was told that that it's still attorney-client privilege.
And then, so are you the client?
Yes.
Okay. Are you seeking a independent opinion from legal counsel to provide an objective opinion to the city of Coeur d'Alene, where the city of Coeur d'Alene is the client on this issue that's outside of Randy Adams?
I would entertain that, sure. Do you have further questions?
No.
Thank you. And I do admit that I get very passionate about things. I get really wound up, and I can get real excited, especially when I think I'm being abused. So I do have something in common with our current interim chief and our former chief when it comes to butting heads in City Hall, and you saw examples of that.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Christie.
may I just bring up past precedents if we're going to talk about city personnel rules, resolutions, state law? Past precedents. In 2014, when Lee White was hired, the situation was very similar. The mayor, Steve Widmeyer, was dealing with an interim city administrator, Troy Tymason, and the mayor made the appointment of Lee White.
I got to correct you on that, because the mayor did not make the appointment, he made the offer.
Oh, I see.
And that was another thing that Randy told me, again, arguing against my authority to make the appointment, was that vote was to make an offer to Lee White. So, yeah, we're in uncharted waters here. Dan, English.
Well, we've got a big vote coming up here. And, it's not going to just impact tonight or us, but down the road. And I guess I'd ask each of you to be thinking of, when your children or grandchildren asked, in that moment of truth, how did you vote? And I'm very comfortable with my vote, and I'll sleep good with that tonight.
Yes, please, Kenny.
Mr. Mayor, help me with this for a second. If you believe through other counsel, I'm going to back up a second. By no means, I can speak for myself, do I want to work against you. Under zero circumstance. So if you've heard something about me with that, put it away, because it's the farthest thing from the truth. But if you have the ability to make an appointment, why are we voting on it?
Because that's what the statute says. The statute says that the mayor may make the appointment with the approval of council. That's why I can't vote on it.
Different than if the city administrator makes the appointment, it's strictly the appointment then.
Because the council then has surrendered its responsibility to city administrator. Because you've got to look at it from a practical standpoint. How do people get appointed to positions in the city? And in a small city where there's no administrator, the clerk, can they appoint? Can someone appoint themselves? Does HR hire, and then that's the appointment? In a small city, the mayor makes the appointment according to this statute.
Understand.
And like I said, from the Association of Idaho Cities manual, we can write city code if you want to that would remove that. But that would be city code. What we're talking about now is policy. We're talking about a job description and personnel rules, which are adopted as a resolution and policy.
Understand.
And therefore, I feel I'm okay to make this appointment. My suspicion now is that the vote is going to be no based on the allegation that I don't have this authority. And that's really a question that I think the public needs to know. Does your mayor have the authority? Does a city attorney have veto power over an elected mayor?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I personally don't feel like what our city attorney said was vetoing. I think you asked a question, I think he answered the question, and he drew specific facts as to what his reasons for his answer was. But one thing that you just said, I'd like to find out what your thoughts are that if there isn't a need for the city administrator to have a vote of council to approve his appointment, why was it not just appointed originally?
Because the contract we signed with Mr. Jacobson said he needs a vote. There was a concern, and, I'm not going to judge the concern, but I accepted it, which is that they did not want an interim city administrator coming in here and just randomly firing people or hiring them. They wanted a process.
So this wasn't specific to the administrator position, it was specific to Ron Jacobson?
Right. Ron Jacobson, I agreed to this process. Ron and I were on the same page. We are on the same page regarding what happened. And I support his decision. I don't think he was out of line. He did what he said he would do. He's a man of integrity. I don't question that at all. But that was part of the process. And then it was a tie, and so the items were asked to be put back on. Would have preferred them not to be, but they were put back on.
And
here we are.
And I will tell you that I did have a conversation, and it was the same as when I explained my original vote, with Don, the head of the local. And I did my contact from Dave Hagar was that he wanted to discuss rumors or lies or something about him. And I got that call in a meeting. I had a long agenda today, and I didn't feel like I wanted to get into a gossip mill. I haven't paid attention to that. I don't really know about it. I don't know a lot of this background noise until emails later on today that were going back and forth. So I didn't feel like it would be beneficial or productive for me to get into some sort of a gossip mill fray over something I didn't have any information on.
And I appreciate that, and that was kind of what I read earlier, is I want you to make your decision based on facts. And those are the facts that are laid out. Don't use innuendo, rumors. You don't have to use my rants about it. Like I said, I can get really emotional and wound up in things that I'm very passionate about. You all received a letter from Peter Erblund. Peter Erblund is with Lake City Law, and he is one of our attorneys that's assigned with our insurance company. And he would know, he's actually handling the one case that seems to be the hot potato here. I know Dave Hagar only, these are his words, I know Dave Hagar only professionally. He has not asked me to contact you, and he is not aware that I'm doing so. As you may know, my firm has represented the police department in many cases and investigations over the years through assignment by ICRIMP. In doing so, I became acquainted with Dave Hagar in his capacity as assistant chief. His attention to detail and thoroughness resulted in many positive outcomes on claims, both external and internal. Many police departments in North Idaho do not have the resources or the high level of risk management investigations that one sees coming out of Coeur d'Alene. It's been very clear to me that Lee White and Dave Hagar have used our resources well, and obviously reflects low crime statistics and hopefully lower insurance rates. So the reason I'm going off the rails tonight is that I have a lot of passion for Mr. Hagar. And you're right, if I had the unilateral authority, I would appoint him. But I want to make sure that there is consensus up here with that. You guys get to make the decision. Now, you can argue, as the city attorney has, that I do not have this authority. I pray that you not use that as an excuse to dump this agenda item. Like I said, this agenda was approved. There was an item on there that was against the law. One would assume that the attorney would have it pulled.
Mr.
Yes,
Mayor.
Christie.
Thank you. I've yet to really discuss why I've made the motion to appoint Dave Hagar as chief of police. Now, there's been a lot of testimony here tonight about Dave's leadership, how professional he is, what the officers think of him, what other agencies think of him, what the community thinks of him, and what leadership thinks of him. And it's all been very positive, with the exception of our former city attorney, Mr. Gridley. Now,
You didn't need to call him out.
well, he testified. The emails that you referred to and the back and forth, that's all public information and anybody's welcome to it. But I do appreciate that you read the letter from Mr. Erblund, because Mr. Erblund is our legal counsel in the case that's pending. If anybody would know about the character and integrity of Dave Hagar, it would be the attorney representing us in this case. So I know that there's a lot of, which side are you going to be on, who are you going to be friends with, what are you going to do here, what are you going to do there, and I don't want that either. I want a professional like Dave Hagar to be treated fairly. That's been my beef through this entire process, fairness. And it's turned into more of a campaign than a employment process. And it's been really discouraging, really hurtful. And I really hope our council will just do the right thing.
And I do too. And I want you to know that even though I can be a raving lunatic and it's lack of sleep and not enough alcohol, but I will support the decision of council. I have sat up here as a council member for years, and that's all I really wanted. I just wanted the support. And so whatever you guys decide is what I'm going to do, what Ron is going to do, and that's the way the system works. I can whine about it, I can cry about it, I can call people names and stomp my feet. But you, good people, are the ones who make the decision, and it is my hope that you make the best decision for the city. Any other comments or questions, anything else? Anyone wants to accuse anyone of anything?
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Shepherd.
So I took some time to prepare my thoughts and wrote out my statement, and I'd like to read that if I may. And I may alter this after I read my statement based on the discussion we've just had. I want to begin by recognizing the men and women of our police department. They serve this community with courage every day, and they have earned the respect of this council and the public. I also want to acknowledge the strong support within the department for Captain Hagar. He has earned that support over years of service. We have seen his success in crime reduction and his commitment to officer safety. Nothing in this decision should be taken as a criticism of his character, his truthfulness, his leadership, or his service to this community in any way. I took this decision seriously. At the last council meeting, I voted against accepting the recommendation from the city administrator. I also voted against rejecting that recommendation. I needed more time. So I heard from prosecutors. I heard from representatives of the Police Officers Association, and I heard from other officers to ensure that my decision was informed and thoughtful. Our officers are asked to do difficult and often unpopular things, whether it is writing a speeding ticket or making an arrest or sheltering a child. They do those things not because they are easy, but because they are necessary. The city is safer because they're willing to do their duty. The responsibility before me and this council is not to choose the most popular option within the department. Our duty is to make the best decision that serves the city of Coeur d'Alene. And historically, this city has operated under a structure where the city administrator hires department heads. Ordinarily, council isn't even involved in approving that. This structure exists for a reason. It separates policy making from operational control and ensures that the city is managed by a coordinated administrative team. Department heads must work closely with legal, human resources, and other departments, and the city administrator is responsible for coordinating those efforts. Other jurisdictions have seen the consequences where actions that are taken are inadequately coordinated with the legal team, or where a governing board interferes with operations. Such missteps create serious risks to the financial health of those jurisdictions. For those reasons, I place significant weight on the recommendation of the city administrator and the interview panel he convened. A police chief does not operate in isolation. He is part of a broader leadership team that must function effectively together. There may be a broader policy debate about whether that structure should change, whether the city law and policy should be changed so that the mayor makes the nomination and coordinates the efforts of department heads. That's not the decision before us today, and I'm not inclined to disregard the historical precedent for how our city has operated in the context of this one isolated appointment. But I believe this is an appropriate moment for the city to consider an external perspective. Strong organizations are built from within, but they're also strengthened at times by evaluating existing practices with fresh eyes. The successful administration of Chief White and Captain Hagar under his leadership is a testament to the benefits of a well-timed new perspective. Before us, we have the recommendation of the city administrator. Now, Mr. Jacobson is, of course, the interim city administrator. We may hire a new one in the next month or two. I see the need organizationally for there to be strong cohesion between the police department and the city administration. That includes all of the department heads that the city administrator supervises. That's why I supported, at this point in time, accepting the recommendation of Yeager by the interim city administrator. What causes me some pause is the representations that you have made, Mr. Mayor, about an independent legal opinion from your attorney, and the concerns you've raised publicly about whether or not we can rely on the city attorney. I think Mr. Adams' opinion was well-founded. It was grounded in case law, it was grounded in statutes, and it was grounded in city policy. But I am not a municipal lawyer. I know that these things are complex, and I think this decision is weighty. And I think that I'm open to the possibility of, if you want to obtain an independent legal opinion, I don't think that's necessarily unreasonable given the weight and significance of this decision.
Thank you, Dan. One comment, so one of the case law that Randy mentioned specifically is from Garden City, and that had to do with a termination, and specifically it had to do with city code on the termination. The appointment was made statutorily, but the termination was made against city code. I would also like to point out to all of my council, there are 7 cities in Idaho that are larger than us. And of those 7, 6 have a full-time mayor and no city administrator. In those cities, the mayor makes the appointment with the approval of council. 2 weeks ago, I met with the mayor from Meridian, and he told me that's how it works. Any other questions? We will do a roll call. Joanne?
Miller,
Can you repeat the motion, please?
motion by Wood, seconded by English, to approve of the appointment of Dave Hagar to the position of police chief.
No.
Gabriel,
No.
English,
Yes.
Wood,
Yes.
Evans,
No.
Scheckler,
No.
Motion fails. Moving on to item number I3. City Administrator requests the approval of his appointment of Greg Yeager to the position of Police Chief. Discussion or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Christie.
I would like to state that this entire thing has not been about Mr. Yeager, but I'm noticing that council isn't speaking about Mr. Yeager. I'm not going to support his nomination because I know what the community wants, I know what the police association wants, and it's going to be very difficult for him to accept a role where he doesn't have the support of the leadership. So I'm not going to support his nomination.
And I'm sorry, does someone else have something to say? Kiki?
I think Christie had some valid concerns in her comments. I have been processing this, and Mr. Yeager didn't have the opportunities to rally his supporters in the room or to submit letters of support to us or to have what seems to be a second round of public comment on his credentials. I'm coming from the position I did initially because I was on the panel of the interviews, and I have the utmost respect for Mr. Hagar, and I believed that myself as a panelist, as well as the majority of the other groups that interviewed, had Mr. Hagar on top. It's really as simple as that. By resume, by interview process, by conversation, that's what I thought and still think my decision to bring in this fresh ideas, this new experience, and help continue to move our police department in the positive direction it is. I don't believe that the members of the department lack the integrity to not follow a strong leader. I also believe that Captain Hagar is going to remain with our team, and that the things that Lee White brought to this department aren't going to vanish. And I feel like this was the best thing for the city of Coeur d'Alene, and I did not get into all of the appointments and the dispute between the mayor and the city attorney and the lies and the gossip. I didn't go down that road at all. That is as simple and straightforward as my decision-making was.
Anything else? Okay, I have been trying to work before I exploded like an angry zit tonight. I have been trying to work to smooth relationships in City Hall between the police department and the legal department. And my concern is that you are about to bring someone in who is either going to face that same pattern of allegations, accusations, innuendos, rumors, and retaliation that has been the habit in this organization for the past 12 years. Or you're going to bring someone in who's going to capitulate, and our city will suffer. That's your decision. Roll call. Wait, was there a motion? Let's do a motion. Did you make a motion? I'm sorry. I'm ahead of myself. We need to make a motion.
Somebody.
Mr. Mayor, I move to have the city administrator.
We have to be very careful with this. The motion is to the approval of the appointment of Greg Yeager to the position of police chief.
Yeah, I understand. I move for the approval of the appointment of Greg Yeager to the position of police chief.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Right, let's do a roll call.
Gabriel,
Yes.
English,
No.
Wood,
No.
Evans,
Yes.
Scheckler,
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Thank you. Ron, will you please contact Mr. Yeager and tell him, congratulate him, and invite him to our city? We will going to take a 2-minute recess to clear the room. Sitting recess.
Unless he declines the position. That's going to be a whole nother.
Krista Hazel,
Yeah, I
Ed
think-
DePriest. You tell when the thing comes up, that's when we're on. Mike, are we on?
Yep.
Is that a yes? Okay, is calling the meeting back to order. We have our final item on the agenda tonight, which is a public hearing for a legislative hearing V-2601, our first vacation of the year, which is a portion of 8th Street right-of-way adjoining the westerly boundary of Lot 7, Block 2 in Keller's Edition. Staff report by Dennis Grant, Street and Engineering Project Manager. Dennis, good evening.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, and good evening. The applicants, Michael and Allison Sterling, are requesting a vacation of a portion of 8th Street right-of-way, it's up on the screen there, that adjoins the westerly boundary of the property. The requested right-of-way was originally dedicated to the city of Coeur d'Alene in the Keller's Edition plat in 1905. The vacation of the requested right-of-way would not have any financial impact on the city and would add approximately 1,250 square feet to the county tax roll. The purpose of this request is to vacate a 10-foot wide strip of 8th Street right-of-way that adjoins the west boundary. Sorry, I already said that. 8th Street is developed into an ultimate width, and in this location, and the additional right-of-way can be incorporated into the development of the adjoining property. This portion of 8th Street has an 80-foot right-of-way. The typical right-of-way is 60 foot in the city limits. All utilities exist and are in place, and there is no foreseeable use for this additional right-of-way. The development review team was informed about this vacation. I did send out 47 certified mailers to the property owners within 300 feet of the vacation request. I had one response, and it was for the vacation. So, recommendation is council should approve the vacation action per Idaho Code Section 50-1306 and vacate the property to the applicant Michael and Allison Sterling.
Very good. Are there any questions for Dennis? This is a legislative hearing, so we will be hearing from the public, but if anyone has any questions on this vacation. Usually, Dennis, these come forward because someone is concerned about setbacks and they want to build something, and it's...
In this particular case, yes, because it is an 80-foot wide right-of-way, and we've had two in the past 10 years. We've had two just to the north on 8th Street that's been approved. And I know at least in one case, they wanted to expand their garage or something. So yes, that is correct.
Very good. Seeing no questions, I will open the hearing. We have one person signed up, Catherine Kinsell. She is in opposition and she would like to testify. And as this is a legislative hearing, you do not need to be sworn in.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Kinsell, and I live on the adjacent street on 7th. And I saw this topic brought up at the last city council meeting. And my concerns have to do with vacating the property to one property owner on 8th Street. 8th Street has a dead end at Lakeside and the dead end up north at Bryan Elementary School. And it, on both sides of the street, wide street, but both sides of the street, there's 15 to 20 feet beauty strips, and they're tree lined. This particular property is at kind of a curve, and so it doesn't have, its property is grass all the way to the curb, so there's no existing sidewalk at this point. And it's currently used, has some vegetable garden boxes kind of in that space. My concern is that if you vacate to one property owner, then from what I counted, there's something like 58 houses and 42 driveways on that strip of 8th Street. And if you give property, public property, to one property owner so they can improve their property with buildings, garages and ADUs, as is mentioned in the staff report, then who wouldn't want to have another 1,250 feet added to their property without having to pay, for the property? And yes, they'll pay taxes on it, but they're not buying that land from the city at current market value. And so it's kind of a sweet deal, but if one person does it, you open the gate for every other homeowner on that street to be able to do it. And so that's my thought on it, is it just seems like, and not to mention with those blocks north and south on that roadway, the traffic for all the additional housing, garages, expansion of, how big the households become, all that traffic's got to also go somewhere. And it either goes to 9th or to 7th, because 8th doesn't have any throughway. And I don't know why the hardscape's still there down at 8th and Lakeside. I've been asking that. But as you increase the density to downtown, and the housing on Lakeside got increased, and Sherman, and all these different areas, and you discuss the comp plan where you're talking about building heights for the new, in the downtown area, at some point, you have to bust open and increase traffic flow. But this will actually increase the use on that street, which will then translate into the use in our neighborhoods and stuff more than it already is, and it's already kind of a lot of use. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you. We have any questions for Ms. Kinsella? Yes, Kiki.
I just, you may or may not know this, but I'm looking at it. Are there any sidewalks along this? Or Dennis, you might know this one too. I don't know.
Not on that particular block. That block, I think, there's a block, and then there's a couple more houses, and then the dead end at Bryan Elementary. And at that dead end, those houses, I think that's probably where the garage expansions are, because that street is basically non-usable to the public. It's a drop-off kind of place. But south of Hastings, I think is where there's the sidewalk and the beauty strip. I mean, it's pretty wide spaces on both sides of the street. So by the time you add the 15 feet of green space and a sidewalk, and then the property owner's yards, there's a lot of cushion there. And, for whatever reason they donated it 120 years ago, I doubt it was just to hand it over to whoever got lucky enough to own a property adjacent to it. That's.
Any other questions for Ms. Kinsella? Thank you.
And can I please take out my sidewalks and put trees?
We'll
So I can
talk.
expand.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to close the hearing. And Dennis, if you could come back up, I'd like to ask a couple of questions. So this, so Ms. Kinsella brought up the point that this guy's basically adding to his property and not paying the city for it. How does that work?
So, Randy could attest to this, but per state code, if property is given to the public during the plat stage, which approved plat was in 1905 in this case, by state code, we cannot sell it. We have to give it back to the property owner, the current property owner. It's not the same property owner that of course, in 1905. But that's what the state code says, so that's what we have to abide. Now, if we purchased a piece of property, then we could sell it. But since it was given to the public or the city, we have to, per state code, give it back.
And he did pay. There were fees involved with this too, to go
Yes,
through
there's
it.
an application fee, $1,000 application fee, and then he had to hire his consultant to do the process that he needs to do the exhibits and talk to the title company and get me the mailers, because I had to send out the 47 certified mailings, 47 of them, that they're, $11.37 a piece. It'd be nice to just, send out and use an 80-cent stamp, but, yeah, there is some cost involved with that. And I tried to, this is a kind of a vicinity map that was provided. It's not very easily seen for the sidewalk, but there, she was correct, Kathy was correct. There are areas that do have sidewalk and areas that don't. This one does not, but per our sidewalk code, when they come in to do an addition or whatever, that may be changed, yeah.
Mr. Sheckler, you have a question?
Does this change the setback? Can they build closer to the right-of-way now because they have that extra 10 feet?
That is correct, yeah.
This right-of-way goes the whole length of 8th Street. That's why it's so wide, right?
Yeah, so back in 1905, this was probably on the outskirts of town, and maybe that was going to be a thoroughfare at one time. I'm not sure why that's 80 when everything else is 60, but yeah, that's a great observation, yeah.
The whole length of that, there's a pretty wide planting strip, basically, at least a substantial length of that on both sides of the road.
For I don't know how many blocks, but wherever that Keller's subdivision ends, it's that stretch, maybe 8 blocks or 10 blocks. I'm not sure exactly how many, but it doesn't go clear downtown is the point.
So this could, though, potentially disrupt the continuity of that planting strip for all of the neighbors that have that street where they kind of enjoy this long boulevard.
No, the sidewalk will still be in the existing 60-foot right-of-way. There's just excess right-of-way in those 9 or 10 blocks of the Keller addition.
Okay.
And the 2 properties to the north have already came in front of the council and got approval for a vacation there. And, and some do have sidewalk and some don't. I'm not sure exactly. You kind of see it on there, but it's difficult. If I zoomed in, maybe we could see that a little clearer, if you'd like to see that.
Okay.
But it shouldn't affect that, no.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Kenny?
Dennis, I don't recall, we don't do a ton of these, right?
No, last year we did one, about a year ago. But in previous years, we have had 4, 5, 6. It was crazy there for a while. And this year, for whatever reason, there are 2, well, there's 4 that have talked to me about it. So there may be around 4 or 5 this year in different locations around the city.
Kiki, go ahead.
Dennis,
Unless you're done, Kenny, did you get?
I'm done, thank you, sir.
Okay, Kiki.
Thank you. What's running through my mind is that there was a discussion about areas that the city engineer had come up with and said if this is within a school zone, then if they pull a permit, then they have to put a sidewalk in. But there were other areas that they didn't have to put a sidewalk in. So how does this vacation affect whether a sidewalk has to be put in there or not?
Well, there is plenty of room for a sidewalk. And in this case, in this property, I believe there is not a sidewalk. So if there's an improvement done per our policies and standard drawings, they may or may not have to put in a sidewalk in this case. But there is still plenty of room to put in a sidewalk.
So it doesn't take it away? Okay.
That's right, yeah.
Any other questions? Oh, yes, Christie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dennis, how does this benefit the city?
Really, tax dollars. It's not going to be a bunch of money, but tax dollars.
And do you foresee, as Ms. Kensel stated, that now everyone on that street is going to come forward and want a chunk of land from us?
We've already had a few that have come forward, but a lot of people don't want to pay extra taxes, so they won't do it, or they don't want to maintain it because it's in the city right away, although per code we don't maintain sidewalks. in front of properties, but, no, I don't.
Thank you.
Any other yes, Dan English.
Well, I would just make a motion to dispense with the rule and read Council Bill number 26-1007 once by title only.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Gabriel?
Yes.
English?
Yes.
Wood?
No.
Evans?
Yes.
Sheckler?
No.
Miller?
Yes.
Motion carries. Clerk will read the title.
Council Bill number 26-1007, an ordinance of the City of Coeur d'Alene vacating a portion of public right-of-way located in the Kellers addition to Coeur d'Alene plat, recorded in Book B of Plats at page 114, records of Kootenai County, Idaho, generally described as a 10-foot wide strip of land being portion of 8th Street right-of-way, adjoining the west boundary of Lot 7, Block 2, situated in a portion of the northeast quarter of Section 13, Township 50 North, Range 4 West, Boise Meridian, City of Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai County, Idaho, repealing our ordinances and parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing a severability clause, and providing for the publication of a summary of this ordinance and an effective date hereof.
And I would just like to remind council that the motion is to dispense with the rule and read the council bill once by title. If this motion fails, the clerk is required to read the entire ordinance.
Thank you for the reminder.
And we will be moving on to the next item, a motion to adopt the bill.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to adopt Council Bill 26-1007.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on this motion?
I
Yes,
just
please,
wanted to
Kiki.
say that, and maybe there's something I would be missing in it, but if a sidewalk still would have room to be put in, I don't see what other use the city could have for this piece of property. It's not like we can go, put a park there, or, I don't know, park vehicles or something. So it doesn't make sense to me to not, to hang on to it when we could get a little bit of tax value for it, and it isn't going to impede any of the city use by not being able to put a sidewalk through there. So it just didn't seem to me that it's something that, if it benefits the landowner, well, so be it.
Very good. Any other yes, Dan English.
Just that, it just so happens that I drive this route very often on my way down to my office, and instead of going down 7th, I will do this sometimes, and I consider that the scenic route, so, yeah.
Mr. Mayor, one of the reasons why I think it's the scenic route is those sidewalks are separated a little bit further away from the street, and that planting strip's wider, and you have some houses that are set a little bit further back. And, my concern is just for the continuity of the neighborhood and the potential for this to be disrupted. I appreciate the response from staff, yet I'm just concerned that if we were to do this in every case, that you'd start to see disruptions to that continuity.
Very good. Anything else? All right, so we have a motion and a second, right? That was our discussion. We did have a motion and a second, right? Okay, good. All right. It's a night. Roll call, please.
Gabriel?
Yes.
English?
No.
Wood?
No.
Evans?
Yes.
Sheckler?
No.
Miller?
Aye.
Mayor votes yes. Motion is carried. Now we need a motion for a recess to our budget workshop.
So, go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to recess to April 27th, 2026 at noon in the library community room located at 702 East Front Avenue for a budget workshop.
Motion and a second. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
We are recessed. See you all Monday.